A couple of days ago, Scott Morrison mockingly claimed that net zero will not be achieved in the cafes, dinner parties and wine bars of our inner cities. This reflects a dangerous and persistent trend where the climate crisis is framed as an issue of identity politics rather than as a scientifically proven existential threat. The rest of the world is rapidly waking up to this reality. So when will Australia follow?
Keith Pitt.
Well, thanks for your question. And the cafes and wine bars of regional Australia are pretty good too, I've got to say. We've got plenty of people out there that utilise those facilities. But
so why target people that live in the cities?
Well, look, the Prime Minister makes his own comments, and as I do.
But do you think he was making fun of people that live in the cities?
Well, the point I want to make is quite simply this. It is
he
the
does,
people
but he can't say it.
It is the people...
helping you out, mate.
And you know, I was actually going to defend you on the last question too, because that was how I read it. I wasn't in the cabinet at the time. Yeah. But look, back to the fundamental point. This is about who pays. And who pays is regional Australia, because they are the ones that rely on the mining sector, the gas sector, the agricultural sector, our big exporters, our intensive industries in terms of where we deliver our products right around the world. Now, the people I represent, they have one of the lowest per capita incomes in the country. It's about $32,000, $33,000 a head per year. And every time I step into the Parliament and I step into the Cabinet, they are first and foremost in my mind about what I do for them. And that is a critical piece of why I go there. And I've got to tell you, they can't afford to pay and they will not pay any more. So we need to take an approach which is balanced, which is based on technology, which doesn't leave them behind, which ensures that the cost for them is not something they can't afford. And that is the position I've always held, and I'm sure Malcolm's well aware of that. And we've had these discussions many times over a number of years.
Well, they can't afford a dead Murray-Darling Basin either, and a dead river. You know, like... They can't afford our country on fire every few years because of dangerous climate change. And we have to get realistic about the fact that climate change is here. And it's here because we have polluted the atmosphere and we have to stop polluting. We have to get out of fossil fuels, which is making our planet sick. And I know, you know, it's hard for you, Minister, because you've got the portfolio, you come from that area, you've been given this job from the Prime Minister. What he said about trying to divide the cities and the countries is just lazy, lazy politics. It is not... this issue is not going to be won and dealt with by dividing the nation. You know, a real leader actually brings people together, educates, leads and actually speaks the truth. And every time the Prime Minister talks about climate change, his weasel words ring out. He is just, he never speaks the truth.
Was it identity politics?
If he spoke the truth...
Was it identity politics at play, is the question asked?
Yeah, totally. That's what Keith couldn't say, but the fact is, it was a...
I'll make my own
no, I'm just looking after you.
But there is a divide in the region,
hang on.
Right?
No, listen, Keith, we understand that. But the bottom line is this. The questioner was absolutely right. An issue of physics, i.e. the impact of greenhouse gases on global warming, has been turned in Australia and in the United States, here largely by right-wing politics, Murdoch media and the fossil fuel lobby, into an issue of identity or values or belief. Yes. It's nuts. Saying you believe or disbelieve in global warming is as intelligent or sensible as saying you believe or disbelieve in gravity. So we've got to stop the ideology and the idiocy, focus on engineering and economics and make this transition to the clean energy economy we need. And
where does Keith Pitt fit in this then?
Keith, but listen, hang on, just let me answer this. Keith, seriously, you are, don't want to be personal at this, but the views you're expressing are abandoning people in regional Australia.
Oh, it's setting them up for failure.
Absolutely setting them up for failure. I mean, we have got, here in New South Wales, there's a by-election in the Upper Hunter, right, in Upper Hunter Valley. The John Barilaro, the Deputy Premier of New South Wales, wants to have unconstrained, open-cut coal mining, cutting up that beautiful valley with, you know, horse breeding, agriculture, cattle, you know, every form of wine, you know, vineyards. He wants to keep...
This is up near where you've got a farm.
Yeah, absolutely, that's right. I've had for many years. But the point of the matter is, we know that the demand for coal is going to decline. It has to, otherwise we're in a lot of trouble. And we know that's going to happen. And what are we going to do? How much more of our great country are we going to just throw into the maw of the coal industry, and what will be left? No jobs and no future. We've got to make that transition for the sake of the regions. And we can have the strongest regions with cheap, affordable, clean energy and great jobs, but we've got to stop the denialism.
Yeah. You've got to give me a chance to respond.
Very briefly, if you could, I want to move on briefly.
Very briefly. Malcolm, that's not the numbers I've got. Demand continues to increase. But once again, we are talking about... Hang on, I'll give you a go.
Keith.
We're talking about fuel. Once again, we're talking about fuel, not emissions. Now, the numbers are straightforward. 19% reduction since 2005 levels. So we've actually outstripped Japan, New Zealand, Canada, the US. We've done better than all of them in terms of emission reductions. And why can't technology be utilised for the resources that are in Australia, which are gifted to the Australian people for their benefit? Now, whether that is gasification, whether it's CCS, whether it's combined with hydrogen or gas, doesn't really matter, because emissions come from the back end.
Do you think we have to reduce pollution?
Oh, it's crazy.
Well, we're doing that now.
Well,
we're not.
We're not.
True.
Well, 19% reduction. So Alan Finkel was wrong today.
The US has just announced that they're going to double their reduction targets by 2030. The UK is going to triple what Australia is doing. We are left in the wilderness here.
And yet we're in front.
It is. You are crazy.
This is bonkers.
It is absolute bonkers.
Alan Finkel today, 19% reduction since 2000.
Let's just get perspective.
It's crazy.
I want to bring Andrew Liveris in. Just as we've gone to air tonight, most of our studio audience won't know this, but President Biden in the United States has just announced a new emissions target. The US is going to work to reduce emissions by up to 52% on 2005 levels by 2030. Is Australia now left behind?
Look, I'm totally gobsmacked at the politicisation of this discussion in Australia and the extremism of it. I think I'm the only engineer on the panel.
Not
so
true.
Are you an engineer too? Yeah. I grew up in...
And you both love fossil fuels, so I don't know what that proves.
That is absolutely totally... I got told that you can intervene any time. That's wrong, and I can show you why in a minute, OK?
Yeah.
But before I answer you...
You're the gas man. What are you talking about?
I am an energy policy man, which is all of the above. Do you know what that means? That means what President Obama did, OK? What President Obama did, I don't know if you are pro-Obama or not, but what President Obama did was he read a book I wrote, and I'll send it to you, called Make It in America, that had an energy policy that was all of the above. So the extremism of the conversation, as just shown, is wrong. You actually have to put it all in place. And if you don't put it all in place, you'll never get the emissions reductions on a sustained basis. You'll get it as economies go up and down, as we've just seen in COVID. So you're meeting targets falsely. So you actually have to have trajectories and plans.
I want to be clear on this. What should Australia's target be, in your view?
We should be net zero by 2050, absolutely.
Should we be more than that?
We should be more than that.
What should we be then?
OK, so I would like the Alan Finkel Technology Roadmap Plan. I would like to see coal defined in its 3 forms, not just 1 form. I'd like us out of thermal coal as fast as we can, low grade. But I don't want the Chinese building all thermal coal while we get out of it. So we've got to enable a transition. And the word transition may be a strange one, but it's a transition that enables us to do the 4 things well. And if you know the 4 things, great. If you don't know them, I can talk about them now. But President Obama put these in place, OK? Now, I was very vocal against President Trump when he abandoned Paris. In fact, we and 100 CEOs in America wrote a letter and published it in the New York Times and the Washington Post. I'll send it to you if you're interested. Basically saying that the US should not leave Paris. And Malcolm knows I did this, OK? So the US business community has got a plan. And President Biden is now putting that plan in place.
Yes, so this is where I want to draw you back to Australia, right? Because there is no clear commitment on 2050. We
should absolutely have it.
Should we, though, commit to net zero before 2050? And when should it be?
I don't have a great answer to that because I don't know the Australian inputs as well. This is an input question and then an output question. Now, carbon sequestration is very key to this. That was announced just yesterday.
But business, just so we're all clear, business needs a clear commitment to a target of net zero by at least 2050.
Totally, totally. And the entire Australian continent needs that because of the effects of climate. I don't deny that. I absolutely, totally believe in climate science. Yeah. I've never said anything opposite that.
But Andrew...
But we need a migration plan that doesn't kill parts of the Australian economy.
But Andrew,
that's the part that, unfortunately, the theory doesn't address. We need a pragmatic plan that enables us to put hydrogen in place, to put batteries in place, to put another snowy hydro in place, to absolutely, totally put pipelines in place, to use fossils not as fuels but as feedstocks. 95% of the stuff you consume, your house, your car, what you wear, what you walk on, is based on carbon. You can't get carbon out of the economy. You cannot. And if you want the engineering around that, I'll show it to you.
So, to do all of this, do we need a price on carbon?
I told that 4 things. The 4th was a price on carbon.
So you believe we need that?
I'm a total supporter of that. I worked for President Bush and President Obama with a team of business people doing US CAP. Go look it up. It's an emissions trading scheme that the Europeans put it in place.
OK, so you're on the COVID Commission. You've designed this gas-led recovery. You say we need a price on carbon. Keith Pitt, your response?
Well, firstly, I'm just assisted with some of the gas-led recovery. I mean, there's a lot of that still going on, which we are doing with Angus Taylor and others. And once again, I mean, anyone can announce something and then pretend they know how to do it. This is about ensuring that the technology...
Sounds like what the Prime Minister does every day.
It's about ensuring that there is that we know the path, how much it's going to cost and who's paying. Now, that hasn't yet been established. Now, if you talk about the UK, well, the UK has a nuclear industry. They're tapped into France. They can utilise nuclear energy, which is zero emissions. We don't have that option in Australia. Gasification is underway using brown coal in Victoria with the HESC plant in combination with our partners out of Japan. There are any number of options which are being assessed and considered. But right now, 60% plus of our energy in terms of electricity is delivered by coal-fired power. It is reliable, it's base load, it is there.
And it's polluting.
There is an absolute need for us to understand the technology, how it will be delivered and how much it costs, and that is not there yet. And
quickly,
I think Andrew made that
Turnbull,
point.
Look, can I say, all of those numbers, we know how to do this. The cheapest form of generation is renewables, solar and wind, backed up by storage. The gas has a role to play, but a diminishing one as a peaking fuel. Coal has... We've got to get out of coal, and the world's getting out of coal, and the longer we pretend we're not, the more we're putting at risk the jobs and the future prosperity of the people who work in that industry. It is literally telling people in the resources sector lies about their prospects. We have...
Malcolm, there are 200 power plants, either under construction or under design. There is demand for Australian coal because it's high quality,
this is a fantasy.
It's efficient, we can deliver it efficiently, and that's why people buy it.
Do you read the news? I mean, have you noticed what's going on in Washington? I mean, seriously. Seriously, Keith, what are you doing? Are you just reading the Daily Telegraph and watching Sky News? I mean, is this some kind of coal-hugging bubble? It's literally nuts. I mean, you know, we talked about the Hunter earlier. There's 250 million tonnes of coal licensed to be able to be produced from existing mines. They're producing 100 million tonnes less, and there are people who still want to open up new mines. This is how mad it is. We need a plan. We've got to approach this rationally, recognise coal is on the way out, and what we have to do is plan that to protect the jobs of people in the industry, but above all, put in the cheaper, cleaner, new sources of energy, which are renewables plus storage and backed up by things like snowy hydro, to create the jobs of the future. Otherwise, we're going to end up with no coal jobs and no new jobs. Okay, and that is a disaster.
We've got a question on that very matter.